So Chris Tyson is a member of the Beast gang. I don't know if any of you guys are MrBeast fans, but let us know in the chat if you are. This was a huge story over the weekend. Chris Tyson basically did a gender reveal, exposed that he's been taking estrogen for hormone replacement therapy for the past couple of months on Twitter. And there has been a huge controversy surrounding this announcement ever since. Yeah. Because a lot of people feel like this news is going to change MrBeast as a whole, as a company, as a channel, as a cast
he's supporting it.
As a whole cast of stars, basically. Because it's not just MrBeast that is like a star on his channel. He relies on people who star in his videos.
I just think of him as an obscenely apolitical channel that's now being thrust into like the most dangerous level.
But nothing
is
apolitical now.
But now it's like it's become the most. This is not the kiddie pool. This is the deep end of the most dangerously political polarization there is.
Did you guys see that? Sorry to interrupt. That Twitter video that was some guy that was claiming that MrBeast like fakes all his stuff.
How would he fake it?
Everything?
He was like
he fakes his charity and stuff?
He pretended to give us money and give us a reward. He made us put eye drops under our eyes for thumbnails so that we were crying.
The thumbnail stuff is different than faking like that you're giving people
that's what the person claimed, and someone just gave it $20 bills for no reason, and I love him.
Thank you.
Linux Mel.
Thank you.
You are loved. You are heard. You are acknowledged.
You are validated. Also on Twitter, I got this response from somebody who says, "You know how many people don't? You know how many people don't vote? Everyone that reads Harry Potter." So
fair point.
Yeah.
No, there are some crazy libs out there.
But that's the thing. Not anymore.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the apoliticals. There's plenty of apoliticals.
Yeah.
So
this Twitter account called Blix posted a before and after photo of Chris Tyson from before and after he was taking HRT, and said, "Bro, WTF happened?" And now I think like 55 million people have viewed this tweet.
Wow.
And it's
how to go viral.
Yeah. So it's gotten a lot of mixed reactions. And I see mostly negative, honestly, on this tweet. One person said, "Crazy how they're saying he's happy. Like we can't see the black bags under his eyes." Another one said, "I legit feel like I'm going to be sick. I feel the urge to vomit. I'm sorry for his poor wife and 3-year-old son. I can't watch MrBeast anymore. I can't support this." Another person said, "MrBeast's next video is going to be best friend as a man versus female $100,000 transformation."
I do think it's stupid to care.
He might literally do that.
He might literally pay for Chris Tyson's transition procedures. Yeah. Who knows? But it's obviously caused some strong reactions. And then within the MrBeast fandom, people are saying this is due to the influence of one of the members of their channel called Carl Jacobs. Yeah. And this is the Carl effect.
I have no idea what that means.
He just ruins everything he touches. They just really don't like Carl Jacobs.
I want to know what you guys think, because this is like Chris has a wife and a kid. Like,
he does.
How do you feel about do you feel like this will affect his family?
A year ago, I think he announced like back in March that it had been over a year since they separated.
Yeah, they'd been separated for a while.
But they're still co-parents, and they have a son named Tucker. And a lot of people are worried about this because they're worried about the influence that Chris would have on his son, who is still young and impressionable and is learning like, you know, what people's roles in the world are.
And he doesn't have a father figure anymore.
And factually, he just doesn't have a father figure anymore. So Chris Tyson says, you know, he's on HRT for a couple of months now and will go by any pronouns. It's just a fact that this kid doesn't have a male role model anymore. Yep. And people have seen him post a picture of Tucker, his child, wearing high heels, and he captioned it, "Tucker decided to slay today."
Dear God.
And it's like, can anything be sacred? Like, can children's innocence like ever be respected anymore.
You know that they did an
Why does it
episode-
have to be like this?
They did an episode of NCIS where they actually where McGee's aunt talks about how he wore high heels when he was a baby and he would walk around the house, and a lot of people had a problem with
That's
that.
totally different.
But I'm saying,
though.
but they felt like the writers of the show were inserting that.
Sure.
To,
Well, like, it's totally different when a kid, like, sees their mom's high heels and, you know, clomps around in them for fun, right? Versus this situation where you can see in the photo that this kid barely is walking at a walking stage in his life. And the shoes on him are ones that require to be buckled on. So obviously he needed help to get these things on him. And now he's being posted on social media before he even has a choice of whether he wants to be a public figure. That's a whole other conversation on its own. But to also, I don't know, be viewed in this way that, you know, now his gender identity is being speculated about and he's literally like in diapers.
Yeah.
Like, why is that considered appropriate? And now it's like we're being labeled the hateful ones, the bigots, because we're saying like that's not appropriate. Chris Tyson has spoken out on his Twitter account in response to this, and here's one of the things he said. Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives. The hurdles gender non-conforming people have to jump through to get life-saving, gender-affirming healthcare in a first-world country is wild to me.
what is that?
Just
What are the
let
hurdles
people
there?
make informed decisions about their own bodies.
I would like to know what the hurdles are.
Like, legitimately, I can't think of one because it seems like there are no barriers to getting irreversible treatments like this at this point.
I want to talk
When there should be.
Yeah, but I want to talk more about what this does to a business, right? Like,
Right.
we can speculate all we want about his choices, his decisions. In the end of the day, it's not my decision, nor do I really care whether he chooses to transition a lot at all. I have my thoughts about what that means for his family. I want to talk about what this does to a business.
Yeah.
When you're somebody like MrBeast, who's built a 144 million subscriber business worth hundreds of millions of dollars, he is now,
What
in
choices
effect,
do you
held
have?
hostage.
What options do you have in terms of how to respond to this situation other than just 100% blanket support for anything that goes forward?
That is your
Mr. Beast
only option
replied and said, got you, and then sent a bunch of heart emojis and said, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend. Carl responded the same thing. And I'm just seeing all supportive comments and anything else is being hidden. And I'm
This
just
could
thinking,
happen
like,
at any non-political business. Like,
Right.
If that happened here, like, they'd be like,
and this
piss
is
off.
also
Like-
after Mr. Beast and Chris Tyson themselves have gotten in trouble
Yeah.
for being insensitive about gender
Yeah.
identity stuff. So back when it was still considered funny to make jokes about identifying as an attack helicopter, they made a video called I Identify as an Attack Helicopter where Chris Tyson literally like straps cardboard wings to himself and pretends to be an attack helicopter, and they make jokes about being offended over being misgendered and about pronouns and how there are 52 genders and all of this stuff. And that obviously was made during a time when YouTube had a completely different landscape and you were allowed to say certain things you're not allowed to say now.
do you think
But
do you think he believed it
it's
then, or do you
like-
think he believes what he believes now? Do you think one of them is untrue, or do you think that he's just changed? He's grown.
the-
It's been years. He's changed. He's different now.
I think the most plausible thing is that they were genuinely making fun of gender related insanity back then.
Yeah.
Like the fact that some people believe there are 72 genders, but now that it's no longer trendy to make jokes like that, they're flipping.
I think this is a generational thing, and so the reason why I have that perspective is, so I when I was growing up, YouTube was a formative part of my high school years. I would watch anime, and I mean, I don't want to embolden you anime people in the chat, but kind of like one or two, and all sorts of videos like Equals 3 and things like that.
I love
And
Equals 3.
yeah, same. And so when I saw that, in my mind, I was like, I like video games and I like card games, and it'd be cool to share that with people on the world, to meet more like-minded people, because where I was from, people would play PlayStation, but they would play the sports games. They would never play the kind of games, the story-driven games that I liked. So I felt very, I don't know, like I was always very bored by the things that they would like, and I couldn't relate. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the point was finding people and not being famous, but meeting similar interest. Yeah. And I feel like the generation that has come after us, the ultimate goal, the fame is more important than the means that they achieve fame.
Getting to it no matter at any cost.
Yes, and this screams of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is crazy what people do for reviews these days for clicks, because HRT is not, contrary to popular belief, always reversible.
Yeah.
And it's the trendy thing to do for social media validation right now. It's flooding in, and you also get to be on the trending page. But you're right, Brett, that this can like affect a company in a serious way. Like,
think about this.
You need to have a party line in a company on like your response to this as like a public relations crisis.
Also think about
basically.
This. Like pro athletes, like teams will get rid of a player who's good if he distracts the locker room. If he is getting in trouble outside of the outside of the team,
yeah.
if he's not
if
he's not good for the cohesive unit itself, they will get rid of them, right? You can't get rid of this guy now. No.
Untouchable.
No. He is now untouchable for the rest of his time there. There's no way to fire him when you're an apolitical brand. If you're a political brand that makes their money off of not aligning with this crap, then that's fine. You can fire him. MrBeast can't fire this dude. Right.
And that's a growing sentiment right now, that people are thinking behind the scenes this is causing strife in the company, because if you feel some type of way about this, you've known this guy for a long time, and now he's suddenly presenting as a totally different person.
Yeah.
And is taking a lot of the spotlight because of that, even though he rarely appears in videos anymore. You have to respond in a compulsory, supportive way.
Yeah, there's no other response. Also, do you think that part of this, hate to ask this question, like is like we talked earlier, like the fame becomes the ultimate goal, right? You'll do whatever it takes to get the fame you want. Is part of this because you're playing like you're in MrBeast's videos, but you're not MrBeast himself, which is of course,
I mean, I don't know, honestly. Because of the nature of the topic, naturally, I don't want to be overtly dismissive, but
no, exactly.
I don't know how you can reproduce and be like, nah, I'm a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were on the opposite end of that mechanic, and I don't mean this. I literally mean it as I don't know how you can get there. Quite literally.
And here are MrBeast's tweets, or I'm sorry, private messages with someone. This is somebody who
that's fake. That's fake.
Oh, was it proved to be fake?
That was proven fake.
Okay, all right.
I didn't want to show that.
No, I asked the question earlier. I was like, why would he
that
be
turned out to be fake? But there was someone who faked messages between MrBeast and one of his employees. Where he's saying that we have to support Chris because it's critical to the business, and creators have been canceled for less. And he said there's an adjustment period where we need to be completely supportive, even if it's awkward. We need to keep up our views and our conversions because this is a business. And they just need to keep it status quo. But even though these messages are fake, that is likely what's going on behind
some
the
type
scenes
of conversation
anyway.
of that nature happened.
Yeah. And I can't help but like have the cynical view that because he was consistently losing screen time on the MrBeast channel, he did this so that it can be compensated.
If so, that's a scary precedent to set for our future, where like you'll do very drastic things to yourself just to regain screen time.
Can I say I have to shout out an episode of The Culture War that Tim did this last Friday. I had the pleasure of sitting there to take notes and witnessing it live. And they had Vivek Ramaswamy. Oh, God, I really hope I got that right.
You did, yeah.
Because the guy's a legend, honestly. And he has the most succinct, I butchered that word, sorry, explanation of modern culture and modern trends I've ever seen from any political candidate. And honestly,
What'd he say?
I'll sum it up to what he was saying is that when people thought of what AI would bring and when, you know, man-made horrors beyond our comprehension, they thought like the Terminator, things like that. But it's
Mind virus.
yeah, it's this. It's trends that were basically non-existent.
It's what TV and movies wanted to do for decades, but just didn't have the delivery mechanism to get to everybody as fast as they wanted to.
But it's in matters of seconds.
Yeah.
Like now, congratulations, culture has shifted. You know.
The scary thing is, Mr. Beast can't not support this.
No, he can't.
He has to support it actually very vocally and enthusiastically celebrate it on top of just tolerating what's going on and continuing his business as is. So because Chris Tyson has reduced screen time on the MrBeast channel as it is, now he gets to get more of the spotlight because he has this special identity marker.
And there's no way that he
Mr.
leaves unless it's by his own choice with a positive
Right.
message about his leaving. There is no we parted way, like it was a distract. That was an actual thing. They would say like you got let go because you were a distraction at work. You got let go for any reason because any reason will be dismissed automatically.
And I always say this, and it might come off as disingenuous, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart, and I mean it. It's the same point I make when minorities are tokenized in movies. It's that the people that suffer the most from this, you know, kind of ridiculous, like overly cheered representation is the minority itself.
Yeah.
Always, every single time, you know, having basically nonstop support with no other point of view being able to be addressed or discussed or vocalized, it always ends up biting the people that they're supposedly trying to protect the most.
Dalclick has a fair statement. Says, why does anyone have a problem with it? He was old enough to trans. It's not that he wasn't old enough or that people have a problem with him doing it. It's what it does to the business because it takes an apolitical organization and throws it into the waters of the most highly politicized, controversial topic there is in society right now. And if you're Mr. Beast, that's a distraction you can't afford. There is no upside. The people who support it aren't going to support Mr. Beast anymore. And the people that don't like it or feel like it's a distraction, it's a lose-lose for him.
And I think it is fair to, since this is a public coming out, you know, journey or whatever, to comment on it because it's been made public. Once you put your gender identity on the table for discussion, anyone can have any opinions about it that they want. And you don't get to cash out on saying that everyone is sending you hate and death threats on it. Like, it was your choice to make your identity public and to talk about it and valorize yourself for being a minority of some kind. So deal with the consequences. And people can discuss what this will mean for your child who is 2.5 years old and your wife who has not been pictured with you on social media in 66 weeks?
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure they're going to get divorced, I suppose.
They are in the process of getting divorced. Yeah. And I really don't like when he says, I did this so that I can be the best version of myself for Tucker, my kid. So in a way, me going on HRT was for him. How, like, what kind of burden does that place on somebody else when you make an irreversible decision, supposedly to make them happy? And then he tweeted, when someone says that he's not a father figure for Tucker anymore, he tweeted, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and gender nonconforming folks aren't safe around kids." Gotta love the use of the word folks. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate. It's taught by people like you, and my child will know only love.
I mean, those are all just platitudes.
Right.
To me.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you
again.
didn't say anything.
It's meaningless.
The infallible and logic of the whatever pet.
He wanted to get backlash on all of this. That's
It
how you
benefits his
cash
brand.
out on social media. But yeah, it benefits your brand, makes you more distinguished if you're on an ensemble channel where you're clearly not the star of it.
Yep.
Now he's differentiated enough that if he wants to walk away from the channel, and he'll still have a lucrative path forward to, gain trauma coins
There was
from
an amazing
simps.
There was an amazing one after all the Dylan Mulvaney stuff. It said there was a Babylon Bee one today. It says Raytheon debuts their Dylan Mulvaney Patriot missile.
And also, I guess the reason why I particularly think this is like newsworthy is because these aren't inconsequential people.
No, especially for the youth.
Yeah,
especially for kids.
And this needs to be mentioned. Like this is this not the #1 YouTube network in the world?
It is.
Yes.
Like
And
I
now
mean,
a lot of parents
#1
are
guys.
gonna have to reconsider whether they want their kids to watch MrBeast anymore.
Yep.
Do you want your kid to be exposed to this type of conversation even?
It's like I said, you take apolitical, for the most part, wholesome entertainment, and you add this element to it. Granted, as long as they're not,
You're killing me.
Thank you.
as long as they're not addressing it in the segment, I guess I don't really care. But it is a question that the parents have to ask themselves.
Yeah.
That is a great line. You play ball like a
Yes,
girl.
it
I
is.
remember them being very insulted by that.
Dollclick says, "Do you guys want trans not to be trans?" We're not talking
What
about
does that
We're
mean?
talking about
What does that
whether or
even
not
mean?
we're talking about whether or not in the context of this business decision. I just find the whole thing very interesting because of what the socio-political ramifications of something like this are for a business that has been built on largely apolitical content. I just think it's an interesting discussion. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.